do think there's a pretty big difference between like a panel of artists versus a panel of like administrators. Because I think a panel of artists are much more like, I think your work samples will carry a lot more weight in those kinds of situations. So if you're applying to like the MAP fund or, you know, some of these panels that we know are like artists, like you gotta have a real sparkly work sample for those. And also they care a lot about like, you know, like the development process that you're going through, like, are we doing readings? Are we doing workshops? Like sort of those kinds of questions. Whereas I think with a lot of these sort of more arts admin-y kind of panels, there's a lot more like people will dig into the budget and like ask a lot more questions about like, do they have enough staff to accomplish this goal? Like those kinds of sort of more like nuts and boltsy questions that are sort of more about like your company and your organization.
Yeah, you know, the Art New York, and for those of you who aren't theater artists, this is the Alliance of Resident Theaters in New York City. And because they're a service provider to a lot of member theater companies, they do have a strong emphasis on professional development and training, along with grants and free space and support services like that. So one of the things they do with their panels is they very consciously try to populate them with different representatives of member theater companies who perhaps haven't had the opportunity to sit on a panel before. So not only are you getting people who perhaps are doing administration and artistic, so they have a different perspective, but you're getting people who are learning. And so I found that there's a lot more question, a lot more back and forth with the program officer, because let me stop there for a second. The program officer in many of these cases is leading the conversation, but in the end, they are not making the decision. They are typically guiding the panel to make the decision. And so with something like the Art New York panels, I've also sat on a couple Art New York panels, and I found that the program officer definitely led us and guided us in that conversation a lot more than perhaps some other panels.